Rolling no matter what.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Welcome to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt LaPon. We are here in Houston at our Mississippi Live Game of the Week. Our Ethan Foster, I'll wave to him real quick here. We'll be talking to him here in a second about the game matchup here between New Albany and the Houston Hilltoppers, the home team this evening in the Room to Room Weather Center. But before we begin, I want to start with what is a very potent storm system here. We're looking right now at some video coming in hot off the press just in the last couple moments from up at Union, Michigan here. As you can see, Union Lake, Michigan. Pretty good sized tornado out of this storm system, but produces pretty good sized tornadoes last night back in parts of Oklahoma and Kansas. So this video coming in, again, Lisa Nicola there sending us this one, and we appreciate her for sharing it. But that's a pretty stout tornado, and that is hopefully what we're not going to be dealing with here in Mississippi, because I think a lot of the components to produce that, in particular the strong upper level winds, will be somewhat out of phase for us. But we're going to have to see this, and we'll be looking again at some video from the Oklahoma's deadly tornado from last night a little bit later on this evening. But as we bring it back in here to the Houston area, our headlines this evening kind of all revolving around a chance for more active weather as we head into the overnight hours, but I think a much more active chance for tomorrow. So isolated showers possible for baseball games, but I'll tell you right now, whereas we had a few puffy clouds that looked like maybe something last hour, those have all diminished as we've lost the heating of the day. Strong storms, though, move in for tomorrow. That same storm system that produced that tornado up in Michigan will be causing, and the ones back into Oklahoma, active weather for us. We're going to use our triple threat, an exclusive you can find only here on Mississippi Live, to show you where, in particular, some of the rotation tracks and hail are on this system. Because while the damaging wind threat is probably the most likely impact, triple threat's kind of picking up on those other two things. So we'll walk through why that's the case and time it out for you here in a few minutes. But I think a brief spin-up tornado, one that happens on the front end of really a line that's primarily wind, that's the most likely setup if we're going to see some tornadoes out of this. Some sporadic wind gusts are possible, a few hail reports as well. But we are thinking that heavy rainfall, that's a kind of major factor with this. More on all of that and a breakdown here in just a second. The first 12, though, if we see some rumbles this evening, and we still will have a few of those out there, they will not be severe, though some lightning still a possibility. 68 by around 10 p.m., 66 by 1 o'clock in the morning, heading to 65 to begin tomorrow. And when we start mid-60s, which is above where we should be for high temperatures this time of year, the humidity, which you can kind of notice out here, is one of the factors that'll help spawn some of those storms. On Mama Justice Doppler radar, you can see kind of on the very wide shot up here that we have, again, the active weather all the way up to Michigan there that we were looking at a minute ago. And notice how that is a green box up there into Michigan. And actually, some of those tornado warnings you saw up there actually led ahead of the actual watches themselves. So point in order here. A warning is when it's likely something to be occurring. A watch is usually issued in advance. We don't always end up with a whole lot of lead time. Looks like certainly some folks up there did not end up with a ton of lead time as well. Mama Justice Doppler radar, we don't show a whole lot of activity out there at this point in time. We do have a couple of showers that we are looking at back there closer to Greenwood and Chula, all kind of moving in a sort of a northerly direction at this time. But just kind of looking at the latest on this here, does not look overly impressive, but could maybe have a couple of lightning strikes. I think that's probably more the exception to the rule than what it ends up seeing as well. Gabe, if you give me a space bar on this here, or use the clicker to kind of advance it back to the next graphic, you'll see that we, again, on Mama Justice Doppler, have had a few storms near the Alabama state line, but just not a ton of activity back out that direction there. And as we show you futurecast into tonight, those southerly motion of storms coming up from the south, I think some of them will continue to have some rumbles closer to Jackson, more so than for us. We still show maybe a few of those diminishing up here in the North Mississippi overnight. The real active weather still back out there into Arkansas. And this front will be what kind of activates and brings us storms as well. But I think the strongest upper level winds were more aimed at Oklahoma last night, more aimed up in the Michigan tonight, and less of a factor hopefully for us. Again, we're breaking down how this all plays out in a minute. But over the next 24 hours, we expect it's reasonable. We'll probably have a few severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings, not impossible for tomorrow. Heavy rainfall, lightning, obviously the main impacts with all these thunderstorms here, but a couple strong wind gusts, some hailstones, And again, is there a tornado threat there? We're going probably mid-70s for highs, and some of those storm chances do continue late into the afternoon and even early evening. But I think there's a very narrow corridor along the leading edge of those storms we're most likely to see impact. Coming up in 60 seconds, we're breaking down where that will be, timing it out for you, looking ahead toward triple threat, something you'll see only here on Mississippi Live as we prepare you for a stormy weekend and look ahead toward what is another chance for severe weather, maybe a more potent one for next week. That's coming up as Mississippi Live Weather continues here from the mobile Room to Room Weather Center and our Mississippi Live Game of the Week presented by Casey Lott right after this.
After a storm, the damage is not always obvious. And if it's not documented correctly, it can cost you. With a decade of experience, we know exactly what to look for. We handle the inspection, claim support, and the roof. Storm season is coming. Make sure you have absolute restoration on your side.
I have been going to Tupelo Smiles my whole life. When I was a kid, I was unhappy about some uneven coloring on my teeth after getting my braces off, which at the time there really wasn't a fix. I was recently made aware of a solution that would totally fix it, which is exactly what we did. They not only heard my concerns, but they never stopped looking to solve my problem, and that's why I love Tupelo Smiles.
This portion of Mississippi Live Weather is presented by Little's Jewelers.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobhon.
Welcome back here to Mississippi Live Weather at 6 p.m. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. The lights of the stadium starting to get brighter behind me here in Houston. Our game of the week between the Houston Hilltoppers, the home team, and the folks out of New Albany. New Albany with a slightly better record than Houston, but I think it's hopefully going to be a good game. We'll talk to Ethan about all of the details on that coming up here in a couple minutes. Here is our severe risk area for today. Clearly, biggest out there to the west, most significant threat back that direction. But one thing I do want to point out here for a moment is notice how, again, we had that tornado video we showed you. We mentioned Michigan. You can, even in a level 1 risk, see something significant like a tornado. So it's just the likelihood is that you'll have a greater number of reports when you start talking about this, a different color here. And I'll see if I can pop on some of those reports onto that there, if those will populate. The eyeball might not turn that on there, Gabe. Let's see if we click the eyeball for me on that, see if that'll, yeah, that one right there. That's not going to give me storm reports. That's fine. We'll look at that a little bit later on the broadcast if we need to there. But the severe weather threat solidly back to the west of us for this evening, a fairly large one stretching more than 1,000 miles from southwest and northeast. Severe weather threat for tomorrow does shift more directly over top of us and is that level 2 threat. Again, odds are greater in the yellow area that you'll have a greater number of reports of severe weather, but you could still see whatever it is. When we start looking at the threats, for example, tornadoes, anywhere in the green, yeah, that doesn't mean green we're good to go. That just means a lesser quantity of tornadoes if we were to end up seeing a threat there. Damaging winds, probably the more likely thing that a lot of us run into. And I would say partially because of the ice storm, not as many impacts here in Houston, a location, say Golden Triangle or east, but west and northwest Mississippi, still a lot of dangling branches there, still a lot of vulnerable trees. I was in Oxford this morning at Coffee and Conversations there at the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, they've done a massive amount of cleanup work, but still a lot to go. It doesn't take necessarily a full-on damaging wind gust to bring down some of those limbs and some of those trees that are already damaged. And then a hail threat. And we will look at triple threat with that come up here in a few minutes. There is one of those to look at, but by Sunday, that threat is out of here. So let's look at Mama Justice Doppler radar. Well, you'll note there again, not a ton of activity showing up at this time. Got a couple of showers back out there closer to, say, Sidon and Greenwood there, kind of moving in a northerly direction. Speed on these has not been particularly fast, and they are not super strong. I also kind of see a weak little boundary out there. Notice that Webster County. I'll see if I can illustrate that on there for you. So give me a moment. Last scan or two, you can kind of see it right about there. How there's a little line kind of. Oh, of course I chose the one color I can't choose when I'm out live here. So let's try this again. Wow, this is what I get for trying to draw on radar, Gabe. Oh, come on.
Do you need my
And
artistic help?
I think I lost. No, I lost connection because it's in and out. Let's just move on. Anyway, there's a little boundary there that we're watching. That's one of the things we're looking at this evening. But some rain cooled air with that might trigger a few eventual showers and storms. But you can see here in Houston, there's nothing out there of significance showing up at this time. Gabe, you're going to be on Spacebar Patrol here for a minute, or Advanced Button Patrol. So this, for what reason or another, the cell signal is not great here for my iPad. We're coming in 68 degrees right now in the Houston area. Feels like 64. Those south winds, though, that dew point up to 65. The measure of moisture continuing to increase, and that'll be a factor helping thunderstorms to form. But at our Mississippi Live Game of the Week, none of those are going to be the case. Most of those storm chances are tomorrow. I think we're good to go here. Still some spotty showers, not an impossibility, as you saw a moment ago for locations in the Delta. We're upper 60s by the conclusion of these games for tonight. So hour by hour forecast for tomorrow, from 65 in the morning, 74 degrees as look toward 1 p.m. And those thunderstorms likely, some will be severe, some could produce tornadoes and damaging winds and hail. Let's keep going on here as we look forward on this. As we show that again through the next 24 hours, keep on going there. Here, actually, I might be able to advance it now, Gabe. So I'll take it from here for a moment, and hopefully it'll let us go with this. But yeah, you can see still a couple of little pop-up showers there. Not an impossibility this evening. It also grabs on Futurecast the fact that most of those should be diminishing in the next couple of hours, but not impossible to maybe see something. Temperatures do not drop much tonight. That is that moisture. That is that more unstable air that is moving in from the south, and that is kind of affecting us and keeping us milder as we go deeper into the overnight period. For tomorrow, though, while we start off dry initially, isolated storms start developing as we look towards, say, 11 o'clock toward locations around Holly Springs, back out toward Clarksdale. And on our Futurecast here, I still see some spots closer to Cleveland there and Clarksdale where perhaps we have maybe a little bit of rotation on what's primarily a line of straight line winds trying to move through. As we go toward 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock into the afternoon, I get concentrating kind of on what we see there for Greenwood. Gabe, you can use the mouse and you can zoom that in a little bit closer if you would for just a moment there in the Greenwood. Oh, apparently my city names are hard locked there. So never mind. We'll go back wider. You're going to have to go wide because I forgot in order to layer that on, I had to do that. So yeah. Oh, well. All the magic of TV. Yeah, leave it like that. All the magic of TV is doing its thing today there. So apologize for that. But most of those storms east of Aberdeen and Kosciuszko look toward 3 p.m., 4 p.m. or so, and back around 5 o'clock there to the east. We'll look at triple threat with this in a minute, but as you can see, it's going to be some widespread rainfall, and from time to time, not impossible to get a damaging wind gust or maybe even a brief tornado out of this. So here's our risk area. Again, I want to emphasize this again for a moment. We are probably not going to see strong tornadoes. It's a decent chance we don't see any tornadoes, but it's not impossible that we do see a tornado. And so because of that possibility, just keep that in mind. Make sure you have weather call. Make sure you're prepared just in case. I'm going to switch it back around here to get some lights off of the stadium to kind of illuminate. There's Ethan. We'll talk to him here in a minute. Damaging wind, fairly decent chance for tomorrow. Certainly our better chance as we look at the different threats, and an isolated hail threat. That's one thing you want to stick around to see on triple threat coming up here in a couple of minutes. Looking at that, one thing you'll instantly note here, just kind of looking at the graphic, is as we go into Saturday, not a great threat through noontime. The first of those storms starting to arrive as we go towards, say, 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, really spreading into and through the area. Now, notice the pinks. The pinks that you see on there, those are areas where we could potentially see some hail. Now, Gabe, no, I don't think we can zoom this one in because I think I also have a layer on it where we can't. Man, I'm going to have to remember that on how I built this because I'd like to zoom these in. Anyway, during that time period, say between noontime and 6 o'clock in the afternoon, where you see some of the pinks and purples on there, that's where our triple threat does show at least some hailstones trying to fall out of these thunderstorms, where you saw in that brief window between, say, 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., right on the leading edge is where we'll most likely see some of those stripes of red indicating the possibility for a little bit of rotation out of those. So I do think that there is a possibility that as we go into the afternoon and early evening that we could have some rotation. Now, one thing I'll tell you, we talk about this strike model. The new one comes in between the 5 and 6 o'clock broadcast. So I'm looking at this remotely from Houston at the same time as you. So give me a moment to get an opinion or two on this. One thing I will note is it does not have as many of those rotation tracks, Water Valley, Oxford, Holly Springs, back to the north and west. So that is an improvement on what we have seen there, and hopefully something that continues when we look at this at 10 o'clock tonight. But I will also say I see a couple spots where there's some decent hail. So I think our True Shield hail tracker will probably be used a bit tomorrow, like that what we've seen there in Webster County, back out there in eastern Monroe County as well. Most of the red that you see on that, though, they're not long stripes. We look for long stripes of red. That's when you see a storm that has rotation that sets down a tornado and then stays down. That's in the projections when it can see that rotating storm doing that for longer. That's when we get more concerned about a strong tornado threat. I don't see that here. And so I think that means strong tornado threat is hopefully off of the table with this storm system. Fingers crossed on that. But again, that's our exclusive triple threat, something you'll see only here on Mississippi Live. We do at least have some rotation, though, and that's where I think that non-zero tornado threat comes in. And as we go into Monday and Tuesday of next week, more storm chances are there as well. What we have, and we'll talk about this coming up after the break, is we have an upper-level storm system that's going to kicked out the storms that we already have that affected Oklahoma and Michigan today. It sent out a big wave of energy, but it's still out west. It's going to send out littler waves as we go into next week. And on our futurecast here, looking at our strike model, say for Monday, I think it's possible that some of these could be hail producers even into Monday of next week and possibly even Tuesday. So I'd say a non-zero chance to have some severe thunderstorms the first of next week, Monday, Tuesday. But I'd say the greater threat probably looking as we go toward around Wednesday in particular as the main bulk of activity with this storm system kicks through. As you can see on our futurecast there, as we run out of data all the way into next Tuesday, there will be more thunderstorms then as well. So more on that coming up after the break. But as you can see here, for your forecast on Saturday, we expect again to have some thunderstorms. Some will be strong to severe. Some could prompt tornado warnings. And when a warning is issued, we have to treat it as though it is something that is occurring at that point in time. That's the reason we talk so much about Weather Call. It's a phone alert system that will break up your day, let you know, hey, something's going on. You can get more information at msliveweather.com/weathercall and in the Mississippi Live weather app. We're 71 for the high on Sunday. That means we don't drop much temperature-wise behind this, which is why there's still unstable air in place. We'll have some thunderstorms Monday, maybe even a couple are strong to severe that day. Tuesday, a lesser chance, and then more of that instability pooling. And by Wednesday, I think a chance for severe weather and maybe even isolated tornadoes, damaging winds. I'd say all forms of severe weather on the table is a possibility by then. Coming up in 60 seconds, we'll dig a little bit more into that using the jet stream. We'll show you the areas we're most concerned about using our storm finder, something you'll see only here on Mississippi Live. That's coming up in 60 seconds here from the mobile room-to-room weather center.
When you've been injured, don't settle for a lawyer who doesn't even know where you live. Call Langston and Lott. Local lawyers, personal service, real results.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. But only you can prevent wildfires.
You may see a teen struggling to find his way. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we see a teen gaining the confidence and skills to land his first job. Kids today need people to see their potential and help them achieve it. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we do whatever it takes to help kids succeed. Because when we see young people, we see limitless possibilities. Do you? Join us, Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures.
And welcome back here to Mississippi Live. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. A couple things we're going to show here. One I'm going to take full screen is our storm finder. Again, something you'll see only here in Mississippi Live. What I want to give you a shot of on that is I want you to take a look at, in particular, just kind of how what we have here compares to some other locations. I think that comparison is important. So you can see back to the north and west. This is what it looks like when you have like a ton of storms and a lot that are fairly strong depicted on Storm Finder there. 9, 10 o'clock, western Arkansas, that's what we have. You look for those orange tops, that shows where there's pretty much continuous lightning. We have the pinks there, that's where it's high confidence in storms occurring. So you'll note for our area, it takes until tomorrow, say early afternoon before we start seeing it. The kind of hills are kind of, look that you see there, that's we kind of have that extruded three-dimensionally, so it just kind of grabs your attention more. The big takeaway on this is we're going to have a line of storms. There could from time to time be some rotation in it, I think primarily damaging winds and obviously heavy rainfall with some hail potential as well. So you'll notice that, again, it is in that time period in the afternoon where we really kind of have our greatest threat. One interesting thing is while it goes 4 p.m. here, you notice less of the orange, those hills, for lack of a better way to put it, those peaks. They aren't quite as tall at that point. So that means there's still, I think, some question as to just how strong those mid-afternoon storms are. But notice how as we go into the evening and you look back out there toward, say, Arkansas locations to the west, those get a lot stronger out that direction. So that's what it looks like when it's kind of really pretty hefty there. I'm going to see if I can take this, while this is spinning on me here, I'm going to see if we can go back to the kind of the Mississippi perspective on this for a moment. And so that's, again, a big complex there moving through northern Louisiana. This is kind of one of the wild cards that our Futurecast here has had. It does have it, weakening substantially as it moves in the Mississippi, so hopefully that is the trend that continues there. But the thunderstorms hopefully weakening by the evening as we've kind of worked things over and by early Sunday morning. But one thing we'll be looking at 10 o'clock is whether or not that ends up being something that sustains, and we need to be concerned with a later chance. Monday storms, again, isolated, maybe some hail possible on some of those. The fact that they're more rogue and by themselves, it's a lower confidence storm threat there that we're looking at, but certainly an interesting one nonetheless. And then as we check out our jet stream and fuel combo that we're looking at here, this is that main upper level storm system we were talking about, right? We mentioned how you kind of have that big dip back there closer to the west coast. That is what's kind of throwing out these waves of energy. We don't have a direct wave overhead on Monday, but we do have a decent amount of fuel. And since we have that decent amount of fuel out there, that's one of the things that'll kind of help some of those thunderstorms. It's just going to be a little bit more disorganized probably. Gabe, advance this here a space bar if you would for me. And we'll show that by Tuesday, that system's getting a little bit closer. And by Wednesday, that's when it's pretty close to overhead. But notice we don't have as much of the oranges and yellows, meaning we don't have as great amount of instability to kind of work off of with this storm system. So I'm hoping that ends up being a limiting factor. But the upper level systems are definitely aimed on a fairly significant chance for storms, possibly severe storms, maybe even tornadoes by the middle part of next week. It's March. We expect the pattern to get more active, and certainly that's probably where it's heading. And after that kicks on through here, the overall pattern stays relatively zonal until we head into next week. Okay, now, Ethan, we're actually ready to get there. We do have an official severe weather threat for next Wednesday at this point, and obviously this weekend time frame that we're watching. Our Ethan Foster, we've kept everyone waiting long enough for our Game of the Week presented by Casey Lott here. It is Houston. It is the folks from New Albany. My brain, I'm telling you.
Long week.
Long day in Oxford to start this morning. You got up at 6 a.m. to get over there. Anyway, be a long weekend, hopefully not too terribly long, but this is going to be an amazing game, right?
Absolutely. People out there need to know, they probably know this without me having to tell them, it's early in the season, Matt. Baseball only been going on for about a month now, started about the first week of February, so these teams are still finding their groove. As we said, New Albany 8-2 on the season. Houston, the home team tonight, 6-4-1 on the season. So right now, just got a couple of key players to watch if you'd like to know who to be looking out for on the diamond out there. Yeah. So I did some deep digging earlier into Max Prep's listing. So if you hear your name called out there this season, just know that's where I get most of my stats from. So any coaches out there, make sure you're uploading those numbers to Max Prep so I can find them pretty easily. But going on some players to watch tonight for New Albany, and going to list some stats as far as the season goes right here to this point. Junior Cohen Young, he's number 11. He's batting .545 on the season. He leads the team in batting average. Right now, he also has 12 hits on the season. Another player to watch, senior Connor Yarbrough. He also has 12 hits on the season. He leads the team in doubles. He's got 3 doubles this season. Also 10 RBI on the season. And then finally to watch for New Albany tonight, number 16, junior Sam Ewing. He's got 5 doubles and 12 RBI. I said Connor leads it, but it looks like according to these numbers, Sam leads it. It's been a long day. And for the Hilltoppers, a couple of key people to watch. They have a standout freshman by the name of Griffin Moss. He actually is batting .464 with 2 home runs on the season, 13 hits, and 8 RBI. Senior J.J. McCoy, right fielder and left-handed pitcher, also a two-way player, 14 hits, 8 RBI on the season. And junior Caden Box, who actually pitched earlier this week in a game against New Albany, right fielder and right-handed pitcher, 1 triple on the season and 11 RBI so far. Now, a couple of notes, Matt. I know that's a lot of numbers, a lot of names there. Basically, the biggest note for this game, these teams played just 2 days ago. New Albany coming off a loss to Pontotoc last night, and Houston has an extra day of rest. They played New Albany on Wednesday. So, kind of a rematch this week, as most high school teams do during the week. They'll play on the road and then at home in the same week. Earlier in the week, of course, New Albany got the win over Houston 4-1. In that game, one of the players we mentioned, Caden Box for Houston, he actually pitched in that game, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. He allowed 5 hits, and he also allowed 4 runs. And then for New Albany, pitching a little bit better, 10 Ks, so 10 strikeouts for Parker Hicks, 2 walks. He allowed 9 hits, but only 1 run. So thing you need to know, Matt, is the last time these two teams matched up this week, New Albany way more efficient on the offensive side of the ball, 10 hits and 8 hits and 4 runs.
That
Houston,
seems very efficient.
Yeah, very efficient. 50% if you want.
Yeah.
Houston managed to hit 10 balls, but they only got 1 run across the plate. So if you can't score when you make hits, you're going to have a long night. So we'll see how it goes tonight. And very excited to see some baseball. First high school baseball game of the season for us.
Yeah, I think, again, the first time, like we did with basketball, that anyone in North Mississippi has ever done a game of the week for baseball. So we're excited to showcase the folks here on both the diamonds for both the girls and boys. This week, obviously, it's going to be baseball. We'll hopefully get some softball next week, or certainly in the next couple of weeks. But it comes down to you voting for our game of the week. And again, appreciate Casey Lott and Langston Lott for sponsoring our Mississippi Live game of the week.
Absolutely. Should be fun. We're excited to have some highlights later tonight at 10. College baseball going on right now, but also some high school baseball too.
Well, and let's also talk high school basketball here for a moment.
Yeah.
Again, state championships going on. Congratulations to so many area teams this evening. Let me see if I get this to behave a little more. I have the whole all cockeyed. Okay, Ingomar, state champions.
Absolutely.
Tishomingo County, state champions.
Yes, absolutely.
You called both of those.
I did, and I want to give props to one team that I did not call that I've loved this season, and John Macon Gillespie out at Calhoun City, who got me the helmet when I picked him for Game of the Week. I got to shout out Calhoun City and the Wildcats. I actually picked LaFleur County in that game, and the advice that I've had all season, what was it? Gabe knows in the studio, if you mess with the Wildcats, you get scratched. Well, I should have listened to my own advice. I think I
So
just
was that your first one, the first loss?
No, it was not. I believe the 6A game also. I got one and missed the other. Olive Branch came back and won a close game. They've got an 8th grader who scored over 20 points in that game.
Man, that's bright future.
Yeah, bright future head. Keep an eye out, D1 Scouts. I did see a post that said Sam Purcell from the Mississippi State women's basketball team is in attendance at the state championships tonight. He saw Meg Moore in Tisch County. Now he's also there for Starkville's 7A matchups tonight. Of course, the girls playing tonight and the boys playing tonight. So still going on as we speak, and still going on tomorrow as well.
So excited for, again, all those teams, and congratulations as the state championships continue. Ethan, this is hopefully going to be a great game. We're excited. The voting this week, there were a couple of things we had you vote on, a little bit different. We had the fan section of the week, excited about that. And then the most valuable non-player, we had a bunch of great entries. You have voted on those, and so we'll have those for you coming up tonight during our 10 o'clock broadcast. But we're excited to kind of hopefully feature some maybe off-the-field people as well.
Yeah, spent a lot of time this week behind the scenes with our team, brainstorming some ways that we could transition over to baseball and give you guys another chance to give your feedback and help just make this more entertaining for everyone and maybe a little bit more recognizable for the folks at home. So excited about the NVNP, most valuable non-player. So excited to see who ends up winning that.
I'm glad you got.
Yeah, it's a little tough. I had to say it fast. MVNP.
Maybe we need to have some kind of certificate, recognizing them. We could conceivably do that.
everything
You
is configured.
remind me of that tonight?
Yes.
Maybe I'll have Gabe remind me of that. Reminding you of something here. We're not going to shut down quite yet, but we do want to remind you our next broadcast is coming up at 10 o'clock this evening here in the Room to Room Weather Center. Obviously, we're going to have a look at the game of the week, that all the highlights and things from this game. Gabe, if you want to put up that graphic here for a second, then we'll kind of come back to the shot after that. But at 10 p.m. here in the Room to Room Weather Center, Gabe will also be looking at the very latest related to kind of these overnight and tomorrow's storm chances. I'll probably, it's me, I'll probably pop in anyway. I'll be at home working. I might as well just pop in. I know, right? I can't keep my mouth quiet. Hence the reason we're almost 30 after, and we're still talking today. But we did a decent amount of sports on that as well. But here in the Room to Room Weather Center tomorrow, our official broadcasts are 6 and 10 p.m. We'll probably have something live in the morning. You know how that goes. And as long as you have the app, we'll push the app. We'll put an alert out when that time comes there. Whether it's, I don't think it'll be 6:30 in the morning. It'll probably when I get up and go and kind of look at everything, kind of get an opinion on how that's going to play out. So, Gabe, I know you have some video. We had some video a little bit earlier on in the broadcast here from up in Michigan of a tornado up there. I know you also have some new information from that. So whenever you're ready to kind of pop that up.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Well, now it is playing, Matt. I apologize. It turned your audio off. But what I want to say with this tornado, and this is a report from some locals up there, actually the one who submitted this video, this large and dangerous tornado that you can see lofting debris into the air ended up taking at least 3 lives so far. And you can see why, the sheer magnitude of this storm. And so, Matt, we are praying for everyone that is affected up there, and we are hoping...
We better go. Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah, we're back here for a second. Now, Gabe, so there was a little language on that. That's the reason I was getting you off it. So I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it. There's a little bit of language.
I downloaded it and I trusted it, so I apologize.
That's okay. We apologize for that. Yeah, I used to say at the TV station, nudity and cursing. Well, I guess we've had one of them.
Well, I will check it in advance of the broadcast. I just put it in the system.
That's okay.
And
No. I appreciate you getting that in there, and I almost told you earlier to mute it, but I didn't.
We do have a silent video that
showcases. But at the same time, let's. Well, I mean, and you should be able to go down into that list there and just click off the audio on that as well. But I'll say this, the important thing that Gabe was mentioning at that point is unfortunately 3 fatalities from that already confirmed. That's pretty significant this kind of early in the process.
And that's just from this afternoon, and there's more of an active weather system heading into this evening as well. So just continue to pray for the folks up there that have been affected. And Matt, this video is silent. That was sent in as well. This from my audio turned off.
I think he just muted himself.
Yes, I'm going to drag it over.
Yeah, go for it.
And this is from Fairview, Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
This was the large tornado that ended up taking the lives of 2 individuals over there in Oklahoma. This was taken, that took the lives of Jody and Lexi Owens, and this was from the Fairview Emergency Management. And so an active night out there. Unfortunately, those nocturnal systems are a little bit more life-threatening, but Jody and Lexi Owens were on the road, and so that's why we recommend whenever these storms do strike, just to stay off of those roadways, because you can see just how dangerous they can be and potentially life-threatening in the process.
Can you pull down that lower third? If you pull that back up and you hit like the 1 that pops up there, you can pull down that lower third, so we can see it. It should, unless, or did you render it out with the lower third on it?
I can take it off.
There you go.
Yeah, I didn't have the button, but yes, that's the just massive wedge over there. There's not a rating on this,
but
but
huge.
You have to imagine this is a major tornado category.
Exactly. I mean, the only way, and that was, I was watching that behind the scenes last night, and that was just, just a beast. I had some friends live out there in Carmen, Oklahoma, very nearby, and we were watching how, I gave them, shot them a text message like, everyone okay? And everyone was fine, because it was largely in the country. So, that's one of those big tornadoes that hopefully rates low because it missed a whole lot of stuff. But, I mean, where it did obviously hit, that one was a fatal tornado as well, right, Gabe?
It's not going to be low. Just looking at some of the damage behind the scenes, we don't have permission to air some of those photos just yet. But to give you perspective, the car that Jody and Lexi were in, emergency crews couldn't even identify whether it was a sedan or a van because of how destroyed it was. So that's the magnitude of these winds, and I'm hopeful that It was just those two. Of course, any lives lost are lives lost, and that's devastating in and of itself. But we don't want that number to climb anymore. And same thing with Michigan, with 3 lives so far. We just want to make sure that folks stay safe. And even here in Mississippi, our severe weather threat is tomorrow. Not expecting large tornadoes, but a brief one is not impossible, and a brief one can still be impactful. So, Matt, that's why we emphasize weather call. That's why we emphasize Mississippi Live weather app.
About weather call. That's go ahead.
I was saying just all the ways that we can stay safe, because we don't want you guys to be stuck out there. A lot of folks traveling for spring break. I know it's the first day of it, but if you can hold off until Sunday to start traveling, that's what we'd recommend. If you're heading down to Jackson, leave early and make sure this threat has cleared on out before you head back home, because it's just not exactly a Saturday where things need to be getting done.
Yeah, and you mentioned weather call here again. It is a phone alert system that will let you know if dangerous and damaging weather is moving toward you. It does come with a cost. You can see the QR code there on the screen. I highly recommend you pick it up, because it is basically like your own personalized tornado warning. So it will call you if tornado warning is issued for your area, call you back if one's confirmed, call you for major severe thunderstorm warnings. And when you think of the flooding you had back in Texas last year, what it's called a flash flood emergency, it'll let you know as well, because phones are disruptive. Phone calls versus just regular alerts. It's what we recommend. Okay, we will see you coming up at 10 o'clock with all the highlights here from our Mississippi Live.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
So I told the folks over at my school visit today that I would show them at the 6 o'clock broadcast. So
go for it.
Real quick. This was over at Carver Elementary School today. Got to teach about clouds to Miss Harris and Miss Wright, first grade class. It was a great time, lots of questions, and it was PJ Day. Didn't get the memo, so I was in full suspenders, felt out of place. So next time when I go to a school visit, I want to know when it's PJ Day, because I would love to wear PJs to work. But either way, it was a great time. They were just ecstatic, and it was such a great time being there with them. So Matt, we appreciate the folks over there at Carver for allowing us to be out there, and can't wait to head back out there here soon. But you're going to be out in Houston tonight. Showing our game of the week.
In Houston again for our game of the week. Excited for it.
Absolutely. I just want to know,
did you give us a pick?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I didn't give a pick, did I? This is a lot of pressure. Gabe's put me on the spot to pick these state title games, so it's got me very nervous now. But I'm just not even going to think about it, except for the little bit that I did think about it before I got here. I'm not even going to put too much stress into this. I'm rolling with New Albany based on what we know tonight. So we'll see how that rolls out. But
better record one earlier this week, and
Yeah, and pitching looked better, offensive efficiency looked better, but we'll see. Baseball can really go either way. If you're an SEC fan, you've seen that very frequently recently, so we'll see. We're just excited to be here. One question I have for Gabe next time, maybe he can answer it in, is how do you explain convection to an elementary student?
Convection? Well, you get the way you explain convection is if you look at a pot of water on a stove and you turn on the pot. Now, that's conduction.
Oh, see?
That's not convection. That's conduction.
Wow. Come in at 10 o'clock with that answer, Gabe. How would you explain convection to an elementary school student? I saw the picture of the elementary kids. I was thinking,
the white fluffy clouds
to know if I was an elementary school student.
Yeah,
Gabe Banner was there talking to us.
So it starts off with conduction and then goes to convection, right? So the conduction is where it heats it right there. The bubbles, when they start rising, that's convection.
Convection. I understood that. So surely an elementary school student could get that.
Yeah, well, they can tell you what clouds they are up in the sky.
Just glad to be here. Just glad to be here.
Say again?
I said they can tell you what types of clouds those are in the sky. They are experts at that. I can guarantee it.
They are. That's for sure. Okay. Anything else, Gabe?
I think we're solid here. Going to work to get some more information coming up at 10 o'clock from folks out there in Michigan. 2 more tornado warnings in Oklahoma as we speak. That's going to be that level 3 threat, so say a prayer for folks out there, and any more information that we get here in the Room Tour Weather Center, I'll share.
And to clarify one more time, the video we saw was last night, right?
That was last night's tornado
Oklahoma.
from Fairview. The Michigan video.
That's what I thought, but when you said that, I just wanted to double check.
Yes, the Michigan video was the one from today. That was about 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Man, big bad stuff.
Give me flashbacks.
Yeah.
Gabe and I chased a few storms. It's just different. It's hard to describe, but definitely pay attention because you don't want to be caught in the middle of it without realizing.
Absolutely. Hey, Gabe, before we go, let's pop up the severe risk area one more time here, if you would. We'll kind of pop that over, and I don't have links up, so I'm making you do two things here at once. If you just go back earlier in the broadcast, there you are. So this is our severe risk area for tomorrow. It does involve all locations in the risk area and some locations in that level risk area. Damaging winds, maybe a brief tornado, a possibility. Certainly, we're going to be monitoring things very, very closely. Keep it here for the latest. Download the app, like and subscribe. That tornado risk not as high as the damaging wind or the not as high as the damaging wind threat on the likelihood of seeing it, but not impossible as well. So keep it here for the latest. We'll see you at 10.
94 for 38.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. You know, we knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt LaPon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt LaPon has proven himself trustworthy.